The U.S. men's national team roster for the November camp is set to be released the first week of November, so essentially next week. Hi, if you're new here, I am Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and today we're going to try to do the unthinkable. We're going to try to predict Gregg Berhalter's roster, and with that, I will also be giving you the players I would bring, just for fun, and obviously there's a couple injury updates that we're going to have to wait on, so a lot will change. But let's just try to do it. Make sure to comment down below your roster or who do you think Gregg will bring. Along with that, I'll update you guys on some players that are completely out due to injury and some players that are questionable. Couple of things to point out for this camp. This will be the first camp. We only have 2 games. We'll be playing Mexico November 12th and we'll be playing Jamaica November 16th. So I don't think there's any need to rotate unless it's tactical changes. So essentially the same starting 11 to play against Mexico should be able to play against Jamaica as well if that's the best 11. With that said, I don't think there's any need of bringing more than 24 to 25 players. So that's what I'm going to base myself off. It could honestly even be just 23. There's no reason to rotate. All right, before we start the predictions and my roster, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed the channel. Also, something I never say here, go follow us on Instagram, Tactical Manager TV. We'll keep you updated on the channel and news of U.S. men's national team on a daily basis. And go follow us on Twitter. The tag is Manager Tactical. Go follow. I can guarantee you we're great follows. Now let's play the intro and start with the goalkeepers. Alright, so goalkeepers. I believe Gregg will bring 3 goalkeepers. Actually, I'm 100% sure he's going to bring 3 goalkeepers. 2 of them are no-brainers. It's Matt Turner and Zach Steffen. And I know Zach Steffen hasn't been playing. I'm personally not a big fan of bringing players that are not playing, but he has to be there. He's debatably our best goalkeeper alongside Matt Turner. So these are the 2 options. Now, option number 3 is where it gets tricky, right? Technically, it would be Ethan Horvath, no questions asked. But he's not playing for nothing in Forest. He's fighting for a spot in the team against Samba. So we have to see how that's going to go. Maybe Gregg will leave him out. And since the third goalkeeper usually doesn't play, especially on a window of 2 games, he's not going to get any minutes. It might be best to leave Ethan Horvath in England, continue to play with the team during those 2 weeks, train, be with the squad to maybe get a starting spot. So I personally think Gregg's going to bring Sean Johnson. He's already in the United States, so traveling will be less of an issue. The only problem it could interfere with MLS playoffs, so maybe Gregg would avoid that. So I'm not so sure in regards to that. If that happens, we could see maybe Gabriel Slonina, the 17-year-old from Chicago Fire, that won't be in the playoffs, maybe make the roster just for experience and just to be the third goalkeeper, because as I said, the third goalkeeper does not play. Now I know I said MLS playoffs, and the MLS playoffs start November 19th, so technically this camp ends on the 16th, so the player would be back. But you know, there's a whole preparation for the games, and you need to have the players for training. And if you take them out of the club to be in the U.S. men's national team camp, they won't be there during that preparation, all right? And yeah, goalkeeper might not be much of an issue, but field players, all of that has to be taken into account. Now, the goalkeepers I would personally bring, I would bring Zach Steffen, Matt Turner, and Gabriel Slonina. As I said, the third goalkeeper is not expected to play. The Chicago Fire won't be in the playoffs, so I would actually bring him in to gain experience. That's all, and to get to see him closer if I was the coach. But regardless, this is not really the controversial part. Comment down below who you would pick and make sure to hit the like button while you're at it. Let's move forward in the field. But wait, I need to make a quick correction after we recorded. And the thing is, I would call Slonina if there wasn't a U20 camp. Therefore, with the U20 camp, I'd much rather him go there, play, get experience there, and he likely will be there. There is a U20 camp coming up this November for the U.S. men's national team, U20, called the Revelations Cup. So I would actually bring Matt Turner, Zach Steffen, and probably just Sean Johnson as well for this roster. I just wanted to clear that up, and also wanted to add that even though there's the MLS playoffs aspect that I mentioned that has to be taken into account, I hope that doesn't really influence Gregg Berhalter's decision, because the priority should always be the U.S. men's national team. So he should pick the best players available, in his opinion. Even though some of the MLS guys shouldn't be there that he likes, but some of them should be, like we've talked about a few, and we will talk about a few in this video. And the ones that should be, the MLS playoffs, I don't care. This is the United States men's national team, and they should be representing their country. Okay, off to the center backs. And as I said, I do know it could affect MLS playoffs, but this is World Cup qualifying. I think Gregg needs to prioritize the national team, and teams have to release their players. It's also a FIFA date, so they don't really have an option. So I don't think Gregg will make any of his decisions based on the playoffs. So now for the field players, regardless of MLS playoffs, I think the players I mentioned will be there. So for the center backs, I believe Gregg Berhalter will bring 5 center backs total. And these are the players I think he's going to bring. John Brooks, which as long as he's healthy, he should be in the roster. Miles Robinson will be there as well, regardless of Atlanta United making the playoffs or not. He has been our best center back, and he's likely going to start both games, or at least one. The other center back I believe Gregg Berhalter will bring in is Tim Ream. He's been playing a lot for Fulham. Greg clearly likes him a lot. And, well, he won't be there to keep Joe Reyna in check. And also, I really hope Greg doesn't play Tim Ream against Mexico, because allowing Diego Lainez to score, let's just put it this way. If Mexico beats us with Diego Lainez scoring, I will be finished, just like El Tri. The fourth center back I think he's going to bring is Chris Richards. He's been playing well, struggling against Bayern in Bundesliga, but he's been doing well in Bundesliga and was pretty good last camp on the final match against Costa Rica. And last but not least, the fifth center back I think he's going to bring is going to be Walker Zimmerman. Yeah, Greg likes him very much. We saw that last camp. And in CONCACAF, he has shown to be reliable. I don't know if he will play, but I think he'll be in the roster for sure. Now, yes, I do think Mark McKenzie and Miazga will be left out. Greg does not seem to rate Matt Miazga, and McKenzie has not been playing much for Genk, and he didn't do so well last camp. So yeah, I think Greg's going to bring John Brooks, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Tim Ream, and Walker Zimmerman. Now let's go through who I would personally bring, and I would also bring 5 center backs for these games. I'm going to be very quick with mine and very short. Alright, so the 5 center backs I would bring would be John Brooks, Miles Robinson, Chris Richards, Matt Miazga instead of Tim Ream, and yes, I would bring in Walker Zimmerman. And I did think about bringing in maybe Cameron Carter-Vickers, but honestly, I do need to watch him a little more. I still think he's not very technical on the ball. Zimmerman is not as well, but he's been around for long enough, and we've seen Walker Zimmerman, what he can do. So yeah, I would bring those 5. So essentially the same as Greg. I would just, instead of Tim Ream, I would bring Matt Miazga. Mark McKenzie needs to figure it out with Genk, needs to get more minutes there. And I know many are going to come on, what about Eric Palmer-Brown? Well, not playing for Troy. And Cameron Carter-Vickers, the Scottish Premiership's not the strongest league. When he was at Tottenham, he struggled. So keep an eye on him. I wouldn't personally bring Cameron Carter-Vickers right now. All right, now the fullbacks. And let's go through the fullbacks that I believe Gregg Berhalter is going to bring first. Comment yours down below as well. It's weird because me and Greg apparently are agreeing a lot in this video. All right, so the fullbacks that I believe Gregg Berhalter is going to bring is, for the right back, I think he's going to bring Serginho Dest and DeAndre Yedlin. Yes, I think these are going to be the 2 guys for the right back. And I think he's only going to bring 4 fullbacks for this camp. I think for the left back, we're going to see Anthony Robinson and Sam Vines. Yes, Sam Vines is back from the broken collarbone, has been playing full 90 minutes for Antwerp in the Belgium League and Europa League. And we know Gregg Berhalter rates him very highly. Are there players missing here? Yeah, possibly Reggie Cannon could be added. He's starting to get minutes for Boavista again, but I don't think he's going to get called up yet, as he's just starting to get minutes. And I think Joe Scally will get snubbed again by Greg. Okay, now what would be the fullbacks I would personally bring? So not that much different from Gregg Berhalter. I would bring Serginho Dest and Yedlin for the right back position, and obviously Dest could play in the left if needed. And I would bring Anthony Robinson and Joe Scally. Yes, I would bring only 4 fullbacks as well. And look, Dest and Yedlin can play in the right, Joe Scally can play on the right. Now on the left, Robinson can play on the left, Dest can play on the left, Joe Scally can play on the left. So the way it would work for me is Dest is my starting right back, Yedlin is my backup right back. For the left back, Robinson is my starting left back, and Joe Scally would be my backup for the left back, and if needed, he could play in the right as well. Look, I just think it's time to start integrating Joe Scally into camp instead of other players. Okay, that's just my opinion on it. Let's move forward in the video now to the midfield. Okay, let's go through Greg's midfielders. So I personally think that Greg will bring 6 midfielders, and let's go with the first 2. That's Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie. I think that's pretty much certain as long as they're healthy. The third one I think he's going to bring is Cal Acosta, and I know the Colorado Rapids will be in the playoffs, but as I said, this is World Cup qualifying, and the priority will be World Cup, so I don't see Acosta out of this roster, and as much as I don't rate him very highly, I do think he's still a key component of this roster because we don't have a backup 6. Now, the fourth option, Yunus Musa. He will be there as well. Gianluca Busio, I think he'll make the roster as long as he's healthy. It seems like he's gotten a small injury for Venezia, but what I heard, it's not very severe. He should be back next weekend, so Gianluca Busio should make it to the roster. Now, the 6th option, I still think it's Sebastian Lletget. I don't think the Lletget era is over with Greg. He also scored for LA Galaxy a karate kick goal over this weekend. I think Greg will bring the boy. Now, I do personally think that Christian Roldan or as The Rock likes to call him, the player in green, will not get called up this time. With a smaller roster and seems like a few players are healthy now, more than before, I don't think Roldan will make the roster, or as I'll call him from now on, the player in green. Now for my midfield, I would also bring 6 players, and it's not that different from Gregg's. So my midfield would be Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Kellen Acosta, Yunus Musa, Gianluca Busio, and instead of Leggett, I would bring Luca De La Torre. So pretty much the same, except for I would add Luca De La Torre. I think we need to start creating offensive plays through the middle as well. We've been doing a fairly good job creating through the flanks, but through the middle we have no creativity. And with Gio Reyna out, which yes, he is out of this camp already, confirmed, we need someone that can create. And Luca De La Torre is someone that could provide that in the midfield if given more opportunities. Now on a side note with Leggett as well, it seems like LA Galaxy could make it to the playoffs. It seems like they will. And well, as I said, the priority is the World Cup qualifying, so I'm assuming Gregg won't make any of his decisions based on MLS playoffs. I could be very wrong right there. We could have a roster with no MLS players or very limited MLS players if it's the case. Because we know a lot of the times the priority is MLS over national team for whatever reason. We saw that in Olympic qualifying, right? When they took out Miles Robinson and George Bello, but hopefully we don't see this again, or hopefully we do. Some players shouldn't even be in the roster anyway. Okay, now to the winger position, and this one is where it gets tricky because some players are currently injured, some are questionable, some are returning. The first one I'll say right away, Gregg does see Giovanni Reyna as a winger, and Gio Reyna is out. So who do I think Gregg will bring? I think Gregg will bring 4 wingers. And yeah, sometimes he does lack depth on the wing because he just forgets he can bring more players. But I think he'll bring 4 wingers essentially. I'm going to say the first winger is going to be Christian Pulisic. I think he's close to returning for Chelsea based on Thomas Tuchel's words. I do believe Gregg will bring Pulisic. Maybe Pulisic won't start against Mexico if he's not in form already, but I think he'll at least bring in Pulisic and throw him into the game at the last 20 or 30 minutes if needed. Probably won't be 100%. The other winger is Timothy Weah. Had a great last camp, and it's a no-brainer if he's not there. He's been playing well for Lille as well. Brendan Harrison is a must. I don't even have to explain why. Now the fourth option, I do think he's going to bring Paul Arriola if he is healthy. Yes, he was going to start Arriola all 3 games. You know, the same argument, verticality. But I don't see the roster without Arriola unless he's injured. I don't think the player in green will be there. I also don't, and that's Roldan, by the way. And I don't think Conrad de la Fuente will be there if Paul Arriola is injured, if Paul Arriola is healthy. Now, if Paul Arriola is injured, then yeah, maybe Roldan or Conrad de la Fuente would be options. Maybe Nicolas Gioacchini as well. Now for my roster, I would personally bring 5 wingers. Yes, so that means I'll bring only 2 center forwards. And Gregg, I'm going to put him as bringing 3 center forwards. What I think he'll do, maybe not, but I'm going to go with 5 wingers. So my 5 wingers are Christian Pulisic, Timothy Weah, Brendan Harrison, Conrad de la Fuente, and I would bring Nicolas Gioacchini because he can also play as a center forward if needed. Also, I guess Timothy Weah could do that as well, but Gioacchini could play as a lone center forward. We've seen it in the past, and he's pretty good at it. And yeah, I would bring Conrad de la Fuente over Forrest Gump. And I know Hoppy, I put him left out by Gregg. I left out Hoppy on mine as well. Hoppy needs to figure it out with Mallorca. I'm not a big fan of calling up players that are not getting minutes, and Hoppy's just not getting minutes in Mallorca. He's not even at the bench right now, on the bench. Sorry for my poor grammar. So I'm leaving Hoppy out for now. I really hope he picks it back up. We really need him to be in form and playing for Mallorca to bring him to the national team. So now let's go to the center forwards before we wrap up the video. And hopefully by now you're ready. Smash that like button. All right, so who are Gregg's center forwards? And I think he's going to bring 3 center forwards for this camp. So right away, I have to say, Jassy Zardes will not be in camp due to a sprained MCL that he's recovering from. So I think the 3 center forwards that Gregg will bring will be Pepe, Daryl DK, that has been actually doing pretty well for Orlando City lately, and Josh Sargent. Last camp, he only brought 2 true center forwards, plus Matthew Hoppy that could play as the wing or a center forward, but he does see him as a winger. Now, Weah could play there up top as well. I think it's certain that he will bring Pepe and Daryl DK, which I'm okay with that. But maybe Sargent might not be there, and we could see maybe Pefok. So I think essentially what I'm saying is I think Daryl DK and Pepe will be there. Now the third one, I'm in between Sargent and Pefok. I don't know who he will bring. I think it'll be Sargent. We'll see, because he has said that tactically Pefok doesn't fit his system, doesn't stretch the back line the way he wants. While Sargent, he does like Josh Sargent, so I think he's going to go with those 3. So just to recap, Pepe, Sargent, and Daryl DK from Orlando City. Now, the center forwards I would essentially bring only 2. And for this camp specifically, I would bring Ricardo Pepi and I would bring Daryl DK. So look, I would really want to bring Matthew Hoppe as a center forward, but as I said, he needs to figure it out with his club. And also, I'll have Joe Keeney as an option as well for the center forward position if needed, and a winger position. I would leave Josh Sargent out for now. He needs to figure out the situation with his club, and I don't think it'll have a major impact for the U.S. men's national team having Sargent in the squad right now. I don't think he'll add that much value, so I would leave him out. Go figure it out, pick up good form for Norwich, and plus, Norwich really needs it as they're pretty close to getting relegated in the Premier League and the season just started. All right, everyone, that does it for my predicted roster and the roster I would bring for the November camp. Don't forget, we will be doing match previews for every single game, live watch-alongs, all of it here at Tactical Manager TV. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoy this type of content. Thank you very much, everyone that became a member of Tactical Manager TV and supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Thank you all very much for watching, and have a great day.